Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
I would recommend Angel Care to anybody. They have really helped me regain my strength.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
I couldn't have survived this without Angels Care.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks as always to our producer, Jeff Durall. We're at Albertson Hall, second floor on the campus of Fort Hays State University, and the focus on agricultural business with Assistant Professor of Agricultural Business, Dr. Craig Smith, as we talk about a project which appeared, thanks to the Fort Hays State students, in the John Deere magazine. Research related to farm field data collected by undergraduate agricultural students at Fort Hays State has now been published in John Deere's The Furrow magazine. Let me show you a copy of the magazine, which Dr. Smith was able to round up for us. I'm sure there are a few copies around in the department here at Albertson. And the article itself is on page 28, looks like, of The Furrow. Well, let's talk about, if we could, Dr. Smith, the project itself. Tell me about it.
Okay, it actually started back when I was a graduate student at K-State. I worked with a couple of professors who were at K-State then, Dr. Kevin Duvetter and Terry Castens, and they were gracious enough to include me on a project where we created a spreadsheet calculator tool to look at the economics of ag technologies like auto steer and boom and section control and shutoffs for planters. So we started the project back then, and I carried it with me here to Fort Hays and decided that it was a good project, a good analysis to incorporate into the classroom. And so I teach an ag technology class, and I wanted to give my students experience using GIS mapping software. So I gave them the challenge of mapping fields on their own farms, and our students come from Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, and then do an analysis for their farm. So in other words, look at, okay, does it make sense to invest in auto steer for our farm, whatever.
Now explain that for the non-farming community,
sure will.
Dr. Smith.
Auto steer is kind of like hands-free. Tractor will drive itself using GPS satellites, and there's different levels of precision. They can get it all the way down to sub-centimeter accuracy. And so that technology has been adopted widely across the country. The payback, it's had a quick payback, and so producers have been quick to adopt that. And we looked at that, and then we also looked at a couple other technologies. Section control for sprayers. So if you've got a 90-foot spray boom, you can divide that into, say, 5 sections and control those sections individually to prevent double spraying on end rows, the headlands area where you turn around. And then also on planters. So say you have a 12-row planter. Traditionally, the whole planter has been controlled as one unit, and so you're planting a field, it's either all in or all out. But now we have automatic row shutoffs that can shut off individual rows. So as you go into headlands area, where if you're not hitting that headland at a 90-degree angle, you would end up double planting a lot, wasting a lot of seed, and also hurting your yield. And so we looked at, does it make sense to invest in this technology that can prevent that? And so it comes at a cost, but there's some benefits, obviously, and need to weigh those costs and benefits. So that was kind of how some background to the project. The students map fields on their farms, and the spreadsheet tool that I built with Kevin Duvetter and Terry Castens helped analyze the economics based on their farm size, how many acres they're using on, the shapes and sizes of their fields, crop prices, input prices, so a lot of different factors, and then at the end of the day you could say, does it pay or does it not pay?
And that's the bottom line for the producer, isn't it, Dr. Smith?
That's exactly right. It comes down to, there's a lot of neat technology out there, a lot of bells and whistles, and yeah, if you've got unlimited income, big bank account, you can just go forward with all of it. But most farms are profit-oriented, and we've got lower commodity prices here in the last several years, months. We had a crop report come out yesterday, knocked them down a little bit more, and so it's becoming more critical to really hone in your costs, understand what pays and what doesn't pay, because if you don't, your neighbor likely is, and it is a competitive industry.
What about auto section as one example that you mentioned, Dr. Smith? How long has this technology been available to the producers?
Oh, for sprayers, I would say it's been widely available at least for the last 10 years, maybe 15 years.
Costs coming down some?
Costs are coming down. That's the other factor that's important. Like most technologies, after they've been out for a while, this drone is a good example, costs keep coming down. And so it used to be this technology would only pay for itself on larger farms, those 10, 20,000 acre farms, and maybe only in the Corn Belt. Well, now the cost has come down, so it will pay for itself on smaller farms, maybe dryland farms in this area. In Ellis County, there's a lot of farms who have adopted auto steer. The row controllers is kind of another story which we can talk about. That does, the adoption rates are different depending on where you are.
Talk a little about the agricultural business program at Fort Hays State. Give us an insight to it, Dr. Smith.
Okay, the agribusiness program, we have about 130 students. We've got 3 faculty members involved teaching ag business, and our focus here at Fort Hays is really the applied real world knowledge and skills that they'll need once they get out into the workforce. We definitely cover the economic theory, finance theory, but as soon as we can start applying that to real world problems is kind of our focus, and maybe that's what separates us or makes us different than some other institutions. And so we've got a lot of students going into the banking industry, going to work for co-ops, equipment dealerships. We've had several go into with the grain merchandising, originating with the Cargills, the ADMs, Gavilons, and the demand is really strong right now for our ag business students and agriculture students as a whole. There's definitely more jobs out there than what we have students to fill it, and I've got employers calling all the time.
That sounds like a great recruiting tool,
It
Dr.
is.
Smith.
It is. It's easy to sell, and it's fun to sell because that is the fact, especially here in Western Kansas. That employers have a hard time bringing someone from Iowa to Western Kansas. They may stay a couple years and then they figure out wind blows and it's hot and they go back. And so they look for, a lot of employers come to places like Fort Hays, where a lot of our students are from the region, and many of them would like to stay in the region.
Well, and what a great integration of practical application of the things they're going to learn in the classroom.
Yes, exactly. And one of my focuses since I came here 4 years ago was incorporating Microsoft Excel into all my classes, and my students could attest to that. They probably say I run it into the ground, and I maybe do, but when they get out in the real world and on their jobs, a lot of them will come back and say, man, I'm glad you pushed it that hard. And so we like to make things hands-on, and in an ag business environment, hands-on to me is Microsoft Excel. Okay, we can talk about all this theory and analyses that we can do, but I like to put it into practice and get their hands dirty, if you will, on using spreadsheets.
Well, and what successful producer doesn't sit in front of a computer to analyze the data that's coming in all the time?
Exactly. It's like I said, it's becoming more competitive, and with lower commodity prices, they're going to have control of that bottom line profit figure even better, and so they're going to have to be sharper, I believe, than maybe a few years ago with the higher prices. Higher prices, you can get by with, I don't know, maybe a little more sloppiness. You can make investments that you might not be able to now, and you really need to look at the benefits and costs.
You have kind of a personal connection to the Furrow, the John Deere magazine that comes out the summer issue that the students were involved in. You have kind of a personal connection with this, don't you?
I sure do, yes. My grandfather, who passed away last year, he grew up lived in the Yoder, Kansas area, which is kind of the area where I'm from. And I remember as a young kid, I mean, he loved John Deere. forever. And he used to tell me that when he was a kid in the 30s, couldn't wait to get the Furrow magazine to see the new equipment that was coming out. John Deere.
It was always John Deere green.
It was always John Deere green. Yeah, my father-in-law was the same way, John Deere green, and so it was pretty cool to get published in that. Grandpa wasn't here to see it, but Grandma is, and so it does. It means a lot.
Well, and the magazine itself is an institution, as you say, on the farms and in rural areas. 120 years, I believe, of publication, with something like 570,000 subscribers in the U.S. and Canada. It's really amazing. We've got to move now to this guy here. Tell me what we're seeing here.
This is a fixed-wing drone, or UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, and it is a Right Wing is the name of the company. And this is kind of what the latest buzz is in agriculture and has been for the last several years. And it's capable of flying quarter section in roughly 30 minutes at anywhere from 200 to 400 feet. And it's another tool that can give you insight into the condition of your crop and hopefully alert you to problems before they start robbing yield.
And this is new technology that's being incorporated into the program then at Fort Hays State?
Yes, we are actively attempting to incorporate it. Right now, FAA regulations have prevented us from doing so. To be legal, you have to, first of all, get an exemption from the FAA to say, here's what we're flying, here's what we want to do with it, and then they'll say, okay, you can fly it, but here's the stipulations. And one of the stipulations is you have to have a pilot's license, a real full-fledged, either private, sport, commercial pilot's license. And so that's prevented us. We've had 3 of these, but we haven't been able to use them in the classroom. And so actually this summer, I am working on a private pilot's license, which I have my check ride tomorrow. Hopefully that'll all go well.
And I was going to say, as we're taping this, tomorrow is the day for the actual test.
Tomorrow's the actual day.
Well, good luck,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Smith.
Thank you very much. I'll probably need it. And it's kind of overkill. I mean, everybody thinks it's overkill to have to learn to fly a real plane, to fly a remote control plane. And FAA realizes that, and they're in the process of going forward with they've put a new proposed rule out, and they've got comments back on it. But it's probably going to be another 1.5 to 2 years before they waive that requirement and come up with a different UAV type.
But with a commercial pilot's license, you would then be able to incorporate the usage of the drone in classroom assignments.
Yes. With a private pilot certificate, we will be able to use it for teaching, for research, and we're working with the biology department. Dr. Bill Stark and I have kind of really pushed this forward, and there's a lot of uses for it in the biology world as well as agriculture. So hopefully soon, I'm thinking maybe October, November, we'll have the waiver exemption from FAA and have a pilot's license, and we can go forward.
And of course, these are things that the young people at Fort Hays State, your students, are going to be using on their applications. Again, another practical application of advanced technology.
Exactly, and our goal here at Fort Hays is to stay abreast of the technology. It's easy to get way behind on this. The technology is just growing and changing so fast, and we need to be at the front, and that's our goal, and so hopefully we can do that.
And maybe some of those kind of helicopter type drones might be efficient uses as well.
Exactly. We're looking at quadcopter drones. They have kind of a different use than a fixed wing. Fixed wing can cover a lot of acres relatively quickly, whereas the quadcopter style, you aren't going to cover a lot of acres with it, but you can do more spot checking, checking cattle. I see potential feedlot uses. It's one of those, once they open the doors and let people, let companies use them, I think they're going to come up with new uses all the time for them.
And all in the pursuit of a potential successful farming operation, Dr. Smith.
Exactly, yeah, and it'll come down to, again, the bottom line. I mean, yeah, these be great fun to fly, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to make economic sense, and that's where my interest really lies. My economics background is really what's driving me in pursuing this, and I want to look at what's the cost effectiveness of it if we can calculate that.
I can already see the enthusiasm
Yeah.
that's going to be translated to our students this fall at Fort Hays State University through the Agricultural or Agribusiness Department. Assistant Professor of Agribusiness at Fort Hays State, Dr. Craig Smith. Our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
There's not any words to describe their kindness.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
They saved my life.